Greetings everyone, this is Amara, back with another live stream. Back with another live stream for you. Yes. Oh yeah. Let me put on some music quickly. Okay. Yes. Eldad, Amara. Another live stream for you. Just click on this. Right. Let's go to live. Woo! Just a couple of minutes to live. Woo! I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes for people to come in. Let me quickly go back to YouTube. Okay. Right. If you can hear me and you can see me, please give me a thumbs up, okay? Give me a thumbs up. Let me go back. Sounds like I've got two programs running here. Just turning this volume down a little bit. I'm going to give it another 2 minutes. Okay. I'm just going to stop the music there. I can still hear music playing in the background. So obviously there's a time delay here. Let me see if I shut that off. Can people hear me? Can you hear me? I'm just gonna stop the music there. Okay. Anyway, this is Eldad Amara with my channel Eyes Wide Shut. I think what's going on here is that YouTube's channel is playing in the background along with the OBS. Is there anyone actually in the chat room? Is there anyone in the chat room? Anyway, this is Eldad Amara. My channel, Eyes Wide Shut. I think what's going on here is that YouTube's channel is playing. Continue watching, okay. Right, I'm going to try turning the sound down on YouTube's channel. Can you hear me? Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please. This is Eldad Amara. I think if I continue getting these problems, I'm just going to go directly to YouTube rather than using OBS because there's always a delay. I'm quite new to streaming. I haven't been doing it for that long, so please if you can help to put up with this for now. I just need to have a little bit more practice on using the streaming software. Anyway, today, this topic is about whose narratives are you following? Is it your own or the elite's narratives? It's time to follow the yellow brick road. You will see what I mean by the yellow brick road in a minute. Again, the title is whose narratives are you following? Are you following the elite's narratives or are you following your own narratives? It's time to follow the yellow brick road. Anybody ever seen The Wizard of Oz? Thumbs up if you have. Have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz? What is the symbolism behind this film, The Wizard of Oz? I believe this film was made in 1938. 1938, The Wizard of Oz. Can you hear me out there? Can you hear me? And also, I'd like to know where you're from also. Which country you're from. Are you from the UK? Are you from the USA, Canada, Italy, Australia, Jamaica? Where else? China, Thailand? Where are you from? Can you please tell me, where are you from? Let's crack on with this thing because I've cut my live streams by about half an hour, so I'll be doing just an hour live stream. Okay? Please, could you give me the thumbs up if you can hear me okay, or if I need to alter something here. Also, what about the visuals? Can you actually see me? I can't see anyone in the live chat. One watching. Okay, just one watching. Let me repeat this live stream. The title is, whose narratives are you following? Is it your own narratives or the elites? It's time to follow the yellow brick road. Let me go to some slides a minute. Right. In these slides. Right. You see, a lot of people think that they're following their own narratives. But it's not their narratives that they're actually following. They're following the narratives of someone else. How many people think they're truly following their own narratives? Please tell me. Do you think you're following your own narratives? That's your own story. Are you following your own beliefs? For some reason, I'm trying to get the slide over. And the slide won't go over, so I don't know what's going on here. Who are the elite? If you look on this slide here, this first slide, you've got the monarchy, they say, is at the top of this pyramid. And I'm not going to go too deeply into this. Okay? They say the monarchy are at the top of this pyramid. The Queen, who died not too long ago, okay, they said that she was at the top of this pyramid, and underneath the Crown Council, okay, and underneath that the Committee of 300. And as we go down this pyramid, you can see there's corporations underneath that, which is control from the people at the top of this pyramid. And then you've got the banking world, okay? Central banks, tax and revenue, interest revenue. And underneath this, you've got these corporations such as Shield, such as Exxon, and Pfizer, and various other corporations. And then underneath that, you have your religions. You have various different religions. And then you have governments, intelligence community, the military, the police, the courts, the prison. And then you have media. Okay? Now the media, the mass media, which consists of your television, which tell lies visually to you, and you've got radio, and you've got social media. All of those things, they're right there near the bottom end of the pyramid. And then at the bottom, you got the workers, the population. Now, as I say, go back to the top of the pyramid. Let me come out. At the top of the pyramid, you have the so-say crown, the elite, and they're supposed to be running things, and then things trickle downward from the top of the pyramid. But I don't believe that the royal family is at the top of the pyramid. I don't believe that. I think there's people much higher up, and they're the hidden hand. You never see them. These people are extremely rich. People talk about Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, who's the other one? Mark Zuckerberg, and those kinds of people as being very, very wealthy, okay? Some of the world's most richest men. But over them, there's other people, and over the royal family. I should say families, because the royal families are all blood related, interconnected. Did you know that? Did you know that? Anyway, over the top of them is the hidden hand, and you will never see them. These people are extremely powerful, and they're the ones who have the instruments of power. They have the instruments of power. They have the means to production. When people turn around and they say, I'm following my own narrative, are you really? Are you really following your own narratives? Or are you following the narratives of somebody else? All of us like to think that we're in control of our lives, and the beliefs that we have are ours, and that they're original, they're authentic, they're original. Are they? Because from the time we come into this realm, from birth, we are introduced to these institutions, and these institutions condition the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we view the world. We view the world from somebody else's perspective. Yes, you have a certain amount of autonomy, a certain amount of freedom, a certain amount of choice. Yes, you do. Not everyone, because it all depends on how high up within the realm of that pyramid I just showed you, you are. There's some people, they have no control whatsoever of their own life. They have no control, whilst other people have a certain limit of control of their lives. But let me ask you this. If you think that you're really that much in control of your own life, and you got that much freedom, if your supermarkets that you go to, that you shop at, if these were to close down tomorrow, say you live in a little village, and that supermarket where you usually go and do your shopping and buy your clothes and probably change your money, if that was to close down, how would you survive? How would you survive? If Lidl's and some of these other stores, Aldi, were to close down, and there are these stores that's in your neighborhood, if they were to close, how would you go about buying food? You see, you're dependent on other people for your shops, and for your shopping. Because if these shops were to close down, even for one day, there's a lot of people who panic. If the shops were to close down for 1 week, you see a lot of people panicking. because this is something that we depend on without really thinking about it too much. We've become conditioned. We have become conditioned. Instead of having more independence when it comes to survival, we depend on other people, other institutions to be able to help us. Look, in 2020, back in 2020, how many people really had control of their lives when we had this thing? I'm not going to mention its name, but it was a worldwide thing, and everybody more or less had to take the BAP. They had to take the BAP in order to be able to go into stores. You had to have a QR code, download it on your phone, showing that you had been V'd, okay? That you're taking this thing so that you can go into the shops. And even then you had to queue up. How much control did you have then? Whose narratives were you following? Can you see what I'm getting at? Or not? Whose narratives were you following? You had to show this QR code if you wanted to go into a restaurant, or if you wanted to go into a pub. You couldn't sit too close to other people. When you were shopping, you had to stand 6 feet apart from other people. And then we had the news constantly telling us about certain things that we had to do. Whose narratives was that? If it wasn't yours, whose was it? See how things changed just in that short period of time in 2020? It's like our lives were turned upside down. So I'll go back to the point. Yes, we do have freedom to a certain extent. We do have choices. We are able to choose certain things. Yeah, such as our clothes. We can choose where we go to shop, where we go to eat. But if these institutions were closed down, where would you go then? We have become so dependent on a lot of these institutions. We've become so dependent on our churches, our religion. We've become so dependent on the government to try and change things for us. And you know, a lot of the things that we vote for, I don't vote personally myself, but that's a personal choice. Those people want to vote, that's their choice. Okay, we live in a democracy at the moment. But our freedoms are slowly being eradicated each day. Those freedoms which we had, they're being taken away. Look at what has been happening to farmers. Farmers who owned their own land. And we depend on these farmers for our food, for our milk, and all the rest of it. But look what's been happening to the farmers around the world. It's not by their choice, but by the choice made by somebody else. How much control has these farmers got? Look at what's been happening in Holland, The Hague. Look at what's been happening in India. Those farmers there, their livelihood has been destroyed. They had a choice, yes, to work the farms, and that was their way of living, but that's been taken away from them almost. And a lot of Indian farmers have been taking pesticide in order to take their own lives. They've taken out bank loans which they could not afford to give back the money because they weren't making any money from farming. They couldn't pay back the loans. They couldn't pay back the loans. They couldn't afford the chemicals to put on their crops. They couldn't afford the machinery. So, out of desperation, they took their own lives. The same thing has been going on in the UK. Farmers taking their own lives. Yes, people want to say they got their own freedom, but you only have a certain amount of freedom. You haven't got total autonomy of your own life, of your own existence. Let me go back to these slides a minute. Let me go back. See these people here? Can you see these people? Look, you got Black Rock. If any of you have never heard of Black Rock, you need to go and check them out. You've got Vanguard. You know these two groups here, Black Rock and Vanguard? They own so much of the world's resources. Black Rock, go and read up on all the various different corporations and stuff that they own. Black Rock and Vanguard, okay? They're somewhere near the top of this pyramid. And then you have the Queen, so said. Obviously she's not here now. We have King Charles. You got other people such as the banking systems. Yeah? You got this Pfizer. But as I said, on this pyramid here, these corporations are down here somewhere. Okay? You can see Pfizer there. IBM and Shell and all these other companies. So they're quite low down on the pyramid. They've got Malcolm X and Martin Luther King in this picture. I don't think they're anywhere near the top of the pyramid. These people have been controlled by people at the top of this pyramid here. Right? At the top of this pyramid, the world monarch, it's not them that controls things, I'm telling you. There's people higher up than them. Much higher up. We depend so much on these institutions. We depend. What's happening? We depend so much on these institutions for our food, for our shelter. And if these things were to go overnight, because we're so dependent on them, how would we survive? if your computers were to go down tomorrow, how would you survive? Seeming that technology is something that we so much depend on. If there's no oil and there's no gas or electricity coming in, how are you going to survive? Somebody else, we're following somebody else's narrative. We're following somebody else's narratives because we're becoming too dependent on them. Now we need to try and become just a little bit more self-sufficient. Do you agree? Let me go back into YouTube. Only one person apparently is watching. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to make you aware of certain things, because we just need to be just a little bit more self-sufficient, self-reliant, rather than dependent on other people. Let me go back into the PowerPoint. Wow. Anybody seen this film, They Live? They Live. This is a film, right? I can't remember the producer's name. I think it's something Carpenter. He made this film around about 1988. They Live. It's about an alien population that live amongst us human beings. This guy here, he's an actor, but also wrestler, who starred in the film, Roddy Piper. Okay? Now, when he puts on these glasses, he sees the world differently, and he sees who's really controlling things. Who's really controlling things. So, there's a group of people, not from this realm, but they live amongst us, and they're the ones who tell us things like what to consume, yeah, what to buy, when to go to bed, when to wake up, yeah, when we should go on holiday. They want total control of our lives. The main things they want is for us to consume, to buy, to obey. Go watch this film. It'll open your eyes, I'm telling you. They live. They live. They live. A science fiction horror film written and directed by John Carpenter in 1988. What do we do most of the time? Don't we buy things? Consume things, right? We watch TV programs and we watch adverts, and those adverts influence us as to what to buy, doesn't it? Let me close this down. We're told to obey, to follow, to consume. And these things are done through our adverts and through our films. And we are conditioned, even if we're not aware of it, as to what those above us want us to do. And this has been since birth. They've been controlling our minds. And even if you don't think so, even on a subliminal level, there's things that's going into your mind, and it's not coming from your own thoughts. It's coming from somebody else's thoughts. They're directing our conditioning. They're directing our perception, the way that we look and view the world. What to buy, where to go on holiday, what to eat, what not to eat, when to sleep, when not to sleep. We must drink 8 glasses of water per day. We must eat 5 pieces of vegetables. Who told you this? Who told you this? Let me go back to this. They live. A group of beings living amongst us, directing us, telling us what to do, telling us what to think, how to feel, how to act. Now, in this film, They Live, as I say, you have Roddy Piper, the actor, wrestler, sorry, and you have this guy here. He's been in quite a few films. Keith David. Or is it David Keith? But he's been in quite a few good films, such as The Thing. That's a really good film. On this slide it says Nada, which is a character in the film They Live, played by Roddy Piper, a wanderer without meaning in his life, discovers a pair of sunglasses capable of showing the world the way it is. As he walks the streets of Los Angeles, Nada notices that both the media and the government are comprised of subliminal messages meant to keep the population subdued, and that most of the social elites are skull-faced aliens bent on world domination. With this shocking discovery, Nada fights to free humanity from the mind-controlling aliens. Roddy Piper as Nada and Keith David as Frank Armitage. John Carpenter wrote and produced They Live in 1988. So listen, go back and watch that film. It's a really, really good film. So, going back to the top of this pyramid, right? The control and the mind control programs start from up here. Not from the monarch, I believe, but from higher up again. The hidden hand you don't see, and you probably never see. These people are extremely wealthy, but also in this pyramid scheme, there are other people that are connected to these people here at the top. There's families and groups that's connected to these people at the top. Even amongst your politicians. And even amongst your police officers and your economists. There are these beings that are working in these organizations. They live. In that film, there's police officers that are beings from another dimension. There are shopkeepers. They're from another dimension. They're from the same group of people, but moving amongst the general population. Let me go back to this slide. buy, obey, consume. Okay, there's all of this information. You see it all the time on billboards. Yeah? In your magazines and everything. Okay? They're on your billboards, in your magazines, on your TV, your radio stations, your social media. By no accident. See? There's a alien looking being. Okay? Police officer. As I say, from the top of the pyramid right down, you've got these beings, or these people moving amongst the general population. What are we told? What are we told through these instruments here? The television and your mobile phone. Your mobile phone. Your television. People can't put down their mobile phone. They got their phones on almost 24/7. Absorbing all of that information. How much of it is actually useful information? These phones. This TV. Broadcasting signals all the time. Sending messages out to you. Even subliminally. Conditioning the way you see the world. Some people, they've never traveled out of the UK or the USA, but they're watching this box here, or even on their mobile phone, and they're watching people in other countries. Okay? And they're taking it for granted that what's been broadcast to them is the truth. Is the truth. Some people never traveled, they never come out of their own country. Some people not even out of their own boroughs. So the only form of communication that they have for the truth, for perception, is coming through these things, through these boxes and this mobile phone. Who is in control of these devices? Who owns the instruments of power? Let me come back out. Let me come back out of this. Who is in control of these things? Who's in control? Who owns the means of production? Whose narratives are you following? You say you're following your own narratives. Many people are still sleeping. They're still sleeping, and it's time to wake up and try and take control back of your own lives. Because these people, the elite, they want to try and keep you in control. To keep you confined, to keep you thinking in a certain way, in a certain manner, to keep you down on this lower frequency. We are vibrating, most of us, on this third dimension, which is a material plane. They want to keep us from knowing our true abilities and knowing our true potential and our self. Since we came into this world, these institutions have been there. They've been there, controlling us and our perception and our ways of thinking. And I say again that yes, we do have our own freedom and our choice to a certain extent. Because I'll go back and I'll take 2020 as a perfect example of just how much control most people had of their lives. Almost, what, 2 years this thing went on for? You had to queue up in order to go into shops? Did you have any say in that? If you had that much freedom, could you push in front of everybody else to go and get things? No, because what would happen? You'd end up being arrested. You couldn't go into pubs and bars without QR code. What if you refused? You would not be able to use these institutions. You could go out for 1 hour a day to get some exercise. 1 hour a day. Who told us that we could only go out and exercise for 1 hour a day? And what if we, because we believe we have our own freedom, we have our own autonomy, what if we decided, no, I'm going to stay out here for 2 or 3 hours, right, and exercise? What do you think is going to happen to you? Somebody's going to come along, the police, and arrest you. Right now there's a lot of banks that's closing down. There's a lot of shops that are closing down and businesses. Do they want to close down? Do they want to close down? Look at all the shops that's closing down on a lot of high streets in the UK. Loads. Look at, going back in the 1970s and the 80s, a lot of steel industries, coal mining industries were closed down. Those people who've been miners or steel workers for decades, in actual fact, their families have been working in things like the mines and the steel industries going back 100 years or more, and then they lost their jobs, they lost their livelihood. How much of that was their own control? Because if they had the choice, now they'd probably still have been in these mining industries, in these steel industries, and so forth. But the choice was taken away from them. How much control of your life do you have? Some people ain't gonna like what I'm saying. Some people ain't gonna like what I'm saying. The people who own these mines had the advantage over those people who are working in the mines. If the shops that you go to each week to do your shopping, if they were to close down for a couple of weeks, seeming that you feel that you got that much control, what if they closed down? How would you feed yourself? That's how reliant and dependent we've become on other people. That's how reliant we've become on other people. Because we go to them to ask them for these things. I can remember going back in 2020, there was football grounds, right, in the Premier League. They were empty. The players themselves, because of this thing that was going on, they could play football against another side, and there's all these rules and regulations, but there was no body in the stadium in terms of crowds. It felt really weird, man. It felt really eerie. So those people who support football, I support myself, they couldn't go and watch the games. They had to watch it on TV. So how much control do they have over that? People who are avid football supporters couldn't go to the stands and watch their team because the government turned around and had these policies and protocols so you can go and watch football. You see how things can just change very quickly? Trying to tell people now you need to try and take back control of your own lives. Is there something wrong with saying that? Take control back of your own lives. Become too dependent on other people, especially those at the top of the pyramid. They got this thing at the moment, congestion charges to drive inside of cities in the UK, and I believe Australia has a similar thing. It's called ULIS, right? The ultra low emission zones. Do you have any choice in that? Did you vote for this? There's people in London been protesting against this. Did you have the right to vote for this? There's so many laws that's been made up, right? So many laws that's been made up, and every week there's hundreds of laws that's passed in Parliament. How many of those laws do you have any say in? People protested against the poll tax, I can remember, back in the 80s. They changed the community charge, I believe. How much control do people have? How much say do they have in that? Seeming that we're following our own narratives and we can do what we want. Look at the amount of protest that's been going on in the UK with the doctors and the nurses. Not only the doctors and nurses, lorry drivers, people who work on ships, have all come out and protested, not happy with the working conditions, not happy with the money that they've been getting. Since we all think that we're so free and we got choice, then why is there so much protest? Who is in control of the narrative? Or should I say, who's in control of the narratives, plural? Because we have all these different institutions. We got our political institutions. We got our courts of law. We got our banking systems. We've got our supermarkets. We've got our science, technology and all the rest of it. People need to try and take back some control of their own lives. I'm going to go back to the slide here. And this thing, the television, which tells lies to you visually. And this thing here, the phone, now smartphone, which means can't get the words out, which means that this mobile phone now is a smartphone, which is basically a computer, a mini computer, yeah, and a phone combined. Now, so many people are addicted to these two things, to the TV and to the mobile phones. Do you know in the UK, let me go back, in the UK, do you know in the UK, the average time spent on a mobile phone per day is something like 6 hours? That's average. Not the highest or the lowest, but the average amount of time spent is about 6 hours on a mobile phone. In America, it's something like an hour or so, maybe 2 more per day. So people are spending 7 to 8 hours on average per day in America on their phones. And in the UK, 6 hours per day on average. Not the highest, not the lowest, but the mid-range. Average 6 hours. And for those people who are so addicted to their phone, they're being conditioned, they don't realize it. Subliminally conditioned. Now, mobile phones are the opium of the people. It used to be religion. It used to be religion. Now it's this thing. Mobile phones. Karl Marx, okay, was a German-born philosopher, economist, political theorist, historian, sociologist, journalist, revolutionary socialist, born the 5th of May 1818 in Trier, Germany. Okay? He died on the 14th of March 1883, age 64, in London. Karl Marx once said, religion is opium of the people, and I'll say it again. Karl Marx once said, religion is the opium of the people, meaning how religion is like an addiction to a drug like opium. And this is what I'm now saying. It's no longer religion. People's opium now is the social media and our smartphones. This is now the opium of the people. People walking around and they're not looking where they're going, bumping into people. People in shops, stores, bars. I've even seen it in restaurants. Sat around, not talking to each other. Addicted to whatever information is in the phones. Whatever information is in the phones. They're more interested in that. It's conditioning our minds. Who made these devices? The people at the top. The people at the top. They have the means to production. They have the instruments of power. And no matter how much control and power you feel that you have right now, you are following their narratives. You're following their narratives. The things that we consume and buy when we go to the shop. Sometimes I've gone into places and I've seen 4 women wearing the same dress, or 4 or 5 guys wearing the same tops and the same shoes, smelling the same perfume, smelling the same aftershave, going into nightclubs and bars thinking, hang on, I know that, that scent I can smell, I know that. So people have been conditioned into consuming certain things, and some people ain't gonna like what I'm saying, but I'm trying to be real. We need to take back some control of our own lives. We need to try and vibrate on a higher frequency. Right. At the moment, most people, not all, are vibrating in this third dimension. Some people are starting to wake up and see what is going on. They've woken up from the deep sleep because they start to realize that there's something else that's going on. Anybody ever seen the film The Wizard of Oz? The Wizard of Oz. I can't read this. Can't read the writing on this. But anyway, The Wizard of Oz. This is a film that was made around about 1938. Okay? It's about a young girl, Dorothy. And she wants to try to get back home. Yeah? She wants to try and get back home. But she's told she has to go to see a guy called the Wizard of Oz, which is in a city called the Emerald City. Now, on her journey, she comes across loads of trials and tribulations. Let me come out of this thing here a minute. She goes through a load of trials and tribulations. She's told by the good witch, because there's two witches, one good, one evil. She's told by the good witch, don't come off of the yellow brick road. Don't come off the road. Stay on the road no matter what happens. You must stay on that yellow brick road. And go to Emerald City and you'll see the Wizard of Oz. And he will help you to get back home. She wants to get back home to see her family, who I believe were in Kansas City. Anyway, she goes through a load of trials and tribulations. And she meets the Tin Man, she meets the Straw Man, and the Lion. And they all want different things, different attributes, right? They want different attributes because they're not happy with the way that they are. One wanted courage. I can't remember what the other two wanted, but one wanted to have more courage. They thought by going to the Wizard of Oz, they'd be able to get more attributes because they weren't happy with the way that they were. I think the Straw Man wanted to have brains, have more brains. The Lion wanted to have more courage. Yeah. The Lion wanted to have more courage. Right? Anyway, these three characters, along with Dorothy and her dog, Toto, her little doggy. Right? Strictly little dog. Anyway, the five of them end up going to the Wizard of Oz. Now check this. To me, symbolically, the Wizard of Oz and this yellow brick road are symbolic of something much more deeper than what you've seen with your own two physical eyes. This is much more deeper than what you see with your own two physical eyes. Dorothy had trials and tribulations on her way to see the Wizard of Oz. In our bodies we have chakras, okay? We have the root chakra, base chakra, and then we come up to the solar plex, and we go up to the throat chakra, then we go up to the crown chakra. Anybody that knows anything about chakras, right, the energy centers in our body, the wheels of light. Anybody who knows anything about these chakras, when you get up to the sixth chakra, which is basically your pineal gland, the third eye, but all the other chakras have to line up first. And when you get to that crown chakra, to the third eye, it's like enlightenment. It's like being enlightened, where you are so dependent on other people to try and change things for you, right? When that eye opens, you become godlike. You have self-empowerment. You'll be able to see that it's the help that you want is on the end of your two hands. When that third eye opens, you'll be able to see things much more clearly. Dorothy had to struggle. She had to strive. She came across the wicked witch who was trying to stop her from getting to see the Wizard of Oz. She was a person getting in the way. You always have one good person, one bad person. We always have a negative and a positive, the two different polarities, right? God against the devil, good against evil. They're two different polarities. But going back to Dorothy, she is on she's on the road. Let me go back. She is on this yellow brick road with her red shoes. And she has loads of trials and tribulations on her way to get to the Wizard of Oz. There is Dorothy in the middle there. There's a Tin Man, there's a Straw Man, and the Lion. And then you got the dog Toto. When Dorothy gets to Oz, she meets up with this man here. This man is supposed to have the power to be able to help Dorothy, to be able to help the Tin Man, to be able to help the Straw Man, and to be able to help the Lion, and to help Dorothy. This man here is supposed to hold the keys to power. The keys of power are the same keys to power that these people I was telling you about. Symbolically, at the top of this pyramid has so much power and control. They think over us. The power filters down from the top, going and trickling down through the pyramid till it reaches down to the general population. And we look up to these other institutions for help. To guide us. This is the same thing with the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz, people thought he had a godlike, they thought he was like a godlike figure, but the true power lies within the individual self. He was a facade behind the scene, pulling all the strings, just like how the instruments of power are those at the top of the pyramid that I just showed you. They think they have all the power, and we look to them for guidance. It's their narratives that many are following. But as I say, people are now starting to wake up and realize that they have the power, self-empowerment. They're now starting to follow their own narratives and not the narratives of those people at the top of the pyramid. Can you understand what I'm saying? They're starting to wake up, and many people from all over the world, they're starting to realize that the world is not what they thought it was, and now they're starting to see the world through a different pair of eyes. Just like Roddy Piper in that film I just told you about, They Live. He was walking around almost blind until he put on the glasses. And when he put on these glasses, these sunglasses, he's starting to see the world through different eyes, through different lenses. He now himself starting to become like a god. He's starting to become like a god, aware of things, and knowing that the power to change things lies within, not outside, but within us. Dorothy goes to see this man, the Wizard of Oz. When she gets to Emerald City, what happens? She sees a wizard up on the screen. Now the dog, Toto, goes behind the screen. So then Dorothy goes behind the screen, and the rest of them. Here's the wizard. He was conditioning people into a certain way of thinking that he had the power. So he was behind the scene here, beyond the facade, pulling all the strings. He was pulling all the strings. Dorothy come to realize that it was just a facade. The wizard had no true power. The power lied within her. The wizard said that there's nothing that he could do for her personally. That she had the power to be able to change things for herself. The mask came off. The mask came off. And that yellow brick road that she went down, she was enlightened. She had to go through the struggle to be enlightened. The power was within her to be able to change things. All of the other characters that were with her, the Tin Man, the Straw Man, the Lion, all wanted the Wizard of Oz to change things for them, to change their condition. The power lied within them, not within the Tin Man. He was just a mere mortal. We go to people or politicians and we ask them for help and guidance. We go to our preachers and we do the same thing, ask them for help and for guidance. When the help is really on the end of our own two hands. When you become dependent on people, they can sometimes take advantage of that, knowing that you're dependent on them. We're here right now, vibrating on this third dimensional frequency. We need to raise up our vibration to the fourth dimension, that is to the higher self. When you're in that higher self, you see the world differently, and you see that the person to change things for you is yourself. You reach self-actualization. Dorothy had to go through the struggles to be able to see that the true power lied with her. See, the people who are in office and in government, and those at the top of the pyramid, let me go back. See this pyramid here? There's at the top there. And then the power filters down until it gets to us, population and workers. But there's people higher up than this, on this pyramid here. There's a hidden hand we can't see, we don't see, I don't think we'll ever really see. And they're the ones who direct our narrative. Now there's something, let me come out of here again. Our bodies are made up of different frequencies. The people who's at the top of the pyramid, trust, they know this. Our bodies are made up of different frequencies. So is everything that surrounds us, because it's all energy. At the end of the day, everything is just a big mass of energy. But with us, how those people at the top keep us in the position that they want is because they keep people in fear. In fear. I say again, they keep people in fear. That's how they have control over us. And another tool that they use is divide. To divide and to rule. To divide and to rule. If everybody wants to wake up, then they have no control. Okay? So they need to try and keep people separated through different things. They need to try and keep control of people through different devices and mechanisms. They know about the frequencies, and they want to keep us on this third dimensional plane through fear and through things like anger. I know the ones who thrive off of it. They thrive off your energy. Let me go back to this diagram here. Right. Here you have at the very bottom, as I say, things are a frequency. Right? And this is measured in hertz. Now, at the very lowest frequency, which is only 20 hertz, you have shame. Then you go up and you have at 30 hertz guilt. And then you go up again. You have at 50 hertz apathy. Go up again. At 75 hertz grief. Go up again. At 100 hertz you have fear. Go up again. 125 hertz you have desire. Go up again. 150 hertz you have anger. Okay, these are all low vibrational frequencies. But this one here, fear, is the one that the elite tries to keep us in most of the time. As we go up, 175 hertz, you have pride. Go up 200 hertz, you have courage. Go up 250 hertz, you have neutrality. Go up 310 hertz, you have willingness. Go up 350 hertz, you have acceptance. Acceptance. Go up 400 hertz, you have reason. The ability to be able to reason, to rationalize, to use logic. Go up 500 hertz, you have love. Love, that's a very important and very powerful frequency. Very, very powerful. Love. But they don't want us loving each other. They want to divide us, divide and rule, and keep us in fear. Keep us desiring things. Go up 540 hertz, you have joy. Go up to 600 hertz, you have peace. Go up to 700 to 1000 hertz, you have enlightenment. You have enlightenment. That is what Dorothy got when she went to the top of when she went to see the Wizard of Oz. She was enlightened. She realized when the mask was off, the true power lay within her. It's the same story like with Jacob in the Bible. Jacob in Genesis 32 verse 25. Genesis 32 verse 25. Symbolically, again, what did Jacob have to do? He wrestled, and he wrestled with God all night. He wrestled with God. And when he got enlightened, his name was changed to what? Israel. 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 Okay? He became enlightened. And his name was changed. What was this? He was wrestling with God. He was wrestling with God all night, trying to free himself. And when he did free himself, enlightenment came upon him. His chakra, right? That pineal gland was open. And he now saw the light. He was enlightened. When you read things like the Bible, you have to read them sometimes and see behind the lines instead of taking things literally. Jacob was enlightened, right? And when he was enlightened, he became like God, not the God. He became like God. And it also says in Psalms 82, is it verse 6 or 7? Psalms, ye are all gods and children of the Most High. You're not the God. You are like God. Okay? When you take your own powers back, when you come to realize that you're vibrating to the higher self and not to your lower self, and taking back your power. Taking back your power. Jacob became Israel. Ra is a god. El. Right? Ra is a son. El, God. So he became like the sun god. Let me go back here. You have a guy called Abraham Maslow. I believe he was some sort of philosopher. I'm not 100% sure, right? But it's a hierarchy of needs, which is a concept which he used. Could be used for many things. Could be used for economy. It could be used for the economy. It could be used for psychology. It could be used for education. Okay? Amongst a whole heap of other things, such as the things I've just been discussing here about this pyramid. Okay? Anyway, when you're at the base of the pyramid, here you need to have food, water, and sleep. This is a biological and physiological need. When you come up to the next step, you need safety. And safety is a basic need. So security, health, and finances. When you move up to the next level, love and belonging is what a lot of people want. This is psychological needs. This is things such as friendship, intimacy, family, and connection. When you get up to the next level, esteem or self-esteem, psychological needs. These are things such as respect, status, recognition, strength, self-esteem. When you go up to the top of the pyramid, self-fulfillment needs. Self-fulfillment needs. This is self-actualization. Meeting one's full potential in life. Different for every person. Not the same, different for every person. Meeting one's own full life potential. That is what happened to Dorothy. Dorothy. This is what happened to Dorothy. There she is there. Okay. Here's a person she thought had the power. The Wizard of Oz. But Dorothy here came to self-actualization. She came to self-actualization. People are starting to wake up now from the deep sleep. They're starting to take back control of their own destiny and their own lives. Okay? They're starting to take back control. Realizing that the true power lies within themselves. And they're starting to change their own lives. Some people are coming off grid and learning to farm and learning to plant food and herbs and learning about natural medicines. They're not becoming reliant on the state to change things, because that could be easily taken away from them. So they're becoming more self-reliant, not dependent on the state and government for things, not being conditioned like they once were. They're starting to wake up. They're starting to see that they have the power. They're starting to move up into that fourth dimension, not in the third dimensional prison, because it is a prison. Moving up to that fourth dimension, self-actualization, and seeing that they're the ones who have the true power to change things. There's a guy called Mahatma Gandhi, and he said, you have got to be the change that you want to see in the world. The change starts with you first. You have got to be the change that you want to see in the world. You cannot leave it to someone else. When somebody sees the change in you for the betterment, right, then they will probably try and change themselves. And it's like a cascading effect. It will pass on to the next person. That's how change happens, or supposed to happen. Okay? You move. You have got to be that change you want to see in the world. What powerful words. He also said, there's no path to peace. There's no path to peace. Peace is the path. Peace is the path. You can't go looking for peace. Peace is the path. If everything's in peace, there's no path to follow to try and find peace. Peace is the path. We need to change things for ourselves and move amongst like-minded people. I've been saying this for the longest of time. For the longest of time, I'm starting to lose my voice. Self-actualization. Self-actualization. I'm going to say it again. Self-actualization. Until it shakes something. Until it shakes something from some people's minds. Self-actualization. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you get to this top of this pyramid, self-fulfillment needs, meeting one's full potential, potency. That's what potential means. Potency, potential, meeting one's full potential in life. Different for every person. Okay, it's different for every person. We all have our own journeys to follow. Instead of being uniformed, because we've been conditioned by the instruments of power. We've been conditioned by the television, which tells lies to you visually. The libraries where lies are buried, another form of conditioning. Our social media platforms, our mobile phones, which some are heavily addicted to. I'm not going to say everybody, but the average time, as I said before, spent on a mobile phone in the UK per day, the average time is 6 hours per day. Some people use it less, some people use it more. Yeah? Some people use the phone probably 12 hours a day, but I'm talking about an average of 6 hours. And in America it's 7 to 8 hours. What is happening to your mind whilst you're constantly on your phone? What is happening to your time when you could be using that time valuably doing something else, trying to help yourself? Self-actualization. The mask is starting to come off, and many people are starting to wake up. Do you agree? I've spent so much time here going backwards and forwards. Let me go back to YouTube. Wow. And I've spent so much time, which I wasn't expecting to be spending on here. Before I sign off, is there anything that anybody wants to say? Sometimes I'm looking at YouTube and the figures I'm seeing is not the true figures, right? Sometimes I have to stop the video, go into YouTube, and then I find that there's much more people watching than I thought. I'm trying to create a community here. I'm trying to also wake people up. I'm trying to make people realize that they have the power to change things for themselves. Some people are going to say, well, what about some people who are handicapped or disabled or whatever? Right? Have they got the power to be able to change things for themselves? Yes, there's certain things that they can do for themselves, but also to move amongst people who are like-minded. To move amongst people who are like-minded. 2020 saw so many changes. So many changes. I think a lot of people come to realize that their lives were being controlled by other forces, and so now are starting to wake up. And there's a lot of people who have been discontented due to losing their jobs and their livelihood. You have nurses and doctors They're starting to push back. Railway drivers pushing back. A lot of people pushing back. Farmers pushing back. They're starting to wake up. Anyway, this is Amara with another video. This is Amara with another video, and this video was entitled, "Whose narratives are you following? Your own or the elites? Time to follow the yellow brick road." It's time to follow the yellow brick road. Thank you, people. I'll be doing another